Hi, I'm Bill Triber with Artistic Finishes, and today's topic is going to discuss an ever-increasing trend in the industry: distressed floors. Now, when you talk about distressed floors and you look at Artistic Finishes, we do a lot of distressing, but the key is to know the do's and don'ts. So, what do we do? Well, one thing that we do a great deal of is wire brushing. Now, this first sample is a light wire brush. You'll see that there's very little grain tear out. Only in the lignin portion of the growth ring is where you will even begin to see any of the actual tear out. Okay? But there's also medium tear outs. And so you get into a little bit more aggressive removal of the grain. And you can see that as you get into a medium, this being a veneered 3/8 inch floor, they're not getting to be too aggressive, and they're putting a finish that gets back into the filler. And of course, the sheen on this would be critical for us to be able to blend to. Certainly, when you get into something like this, now you're into more of an aggressive wire brush. And in some cases, you might even see some tear out here to the point where you might think this floor was actually hand scraped. But this is still showing you primarily an aggressive wire brush look. It also does have a little bit of whitewash in there, which is a technique that we also do. Gray washing is also included in that, but whitewashing is probably more common. We also do some black washing. Knot holes. With regards to floors that have open knots, you will not find that to be very common at all. With us, it's very limited to what we can determine to leave open. Certainly, we're looking at the floors when we do that. In this case, the floor has closed the knots, so we would obviously want to close the knot. We're going to close 90% plus of the knots, simply because when you're dealing with small profiles, we don't really want to compromise the structural integrity of the pieces, like you're getting down into miniature or mini reducers. To have an open knot there in a character graded floor or a distressed look would not be favorable for long-term performance. So that is an area where we're going to do knot filling. Okay, those are some examples of things that we do. We also do oil finish, and with this particular floor, let's look at some of the things we don't do. Now, this is oil finish, and yes, we do use oil. If it's oil, we use water-based dyes for different looks, obviously polyurethane as well. But with this floor, you see cross kerf sawn marks. And there is a little bit of a chatter effect here, but really the bulk of this is coming across the entire width of the plank. That would be an indication of a cross kerf. And that's a saw that is blade that is being run perpendicular to the length of the board. That is a particular distressing technique that we currently do not do. We run into all kinds of problems with finishing techniques, and so typically we will not do that. Now, if it is a requirement for a large commercial or custom tread job, we will reconsider that. I can guarantee you that there would be additional adjustments in price for that. But that is not something that typically we do. When you look at this particular sample here, you can see this is a very aggressive wire brush. And on top of that, there is examples of a little bit of cross kerfing here. I don't know if you can pick that up, but you do see that. No problem with the wire brush. It's the cross kerf that we would not be able to duplicate on our profiles, treads, risers, vents, what have you. Very good example shown there. Another example, very clearly seen. Here you can see the cross kerf, this being more of a straight line. Many of them will have a little bit of a curvature simulating the blade, but also many of them will be straight line. Still in the cross kerf category. Okay? And the last example that I show you is very straight, similar to the one prior. Again, oil finish. This is a fairly aggressive wire brush. We can do all that. And we can do the whitewash, in this case the gray wash. What we can't do is this cross curve. Okay? So I hope that has clearly identified some of the do's and don'ts. Here you can see the other part of this sample. Of course, our formula is on there as well. But you can see that this has been filled on the floor. We would certainly want to fill any knots in getting a graded character for this floor as well. So it's good that they were filled. And we would try to duplicate that color as well. It does give the opportunity for the match on the color of the knot holes. Now, a few more things that I didn't show you, but that we do not do. One of them is chain marks, where there's indentations in the wood. There might be to the point where you have extreme heavy scrapes that are taking out large shatter marks. I showed you a little bit of the potential of what you could get into with an aggressive hand scrape on shatter marks, but that typically is not something that we can do. It compromises the structural integrity of our profiles. Up until now, I've only been talking about our wood accessory products. Keep in mind that we also do have our solid polymer core and Enduracor products. Now with those, we are very limited with any wire brushing or hand scraping. It's null and void since we're using a very thin wood veneer as our surface. Okay? But if you're ever in doubt, online we do show you the do's and don'ts of what we're capable of. And it is stated clearly once you get into the individual product listings as to what we can and cannot do. But I always would encourage you to contact our customer service and or myself or your sales rep for any final questions that you might have regarding the capabilities of distressing the accessories that you would consider purchasing through Artistic Finishes. I want to thank you for being with us today. I hope you learned a little bit, and I hope that the next job you land will be one that will challenge both you and us on getting the job right in terms of distressed products. Thank you. This has been Bill Triber with Artistic Finishes. Have a great day.